Hello and welcome back to season two of Purple and Gold Zone. It's been a minute, honestly. After the Lakers beat the Warriors in the semifinals of the playoffs, I kind of took a long break, an extended break. I've probably had 8 to 12 episode ideas since then that I've just never done, whether that be while they were still playing the Nuggets right after, or even like July, August. I've had a bunch of episode ideas, no time to do it. Finally, this is a great time to start because this is officially the beginning of the NBA season. We are within the first 2 weeks of the season. Most teams have played between 3 and 4 games at the most so far. So we are at the beginning of all of this. This is a great time to start. I'm super excited to be back. Again, I apologize. I kind of went radio silent, but we're back. We're back. We got the Kobe shirt. We got the boom, the Lakers hat with the LA on the side. You already know we are ready to go this season. I'm really excited. We have a really fun show. We're going to get right into it, starting with talking about the first four Lakers games. And yes, the Lakers are currently sitting at 2-2. Let's get right in and talk about it. Looking with our first game of the season, I'm going to be honest, the Lakers have not had a great first game of the season the last couple of years. This is no exception to that trend. We played the Nuggets. It was a rain night. I was hype. I was going around my job, flashing the jersey, saying, we're going to beat the Nuggets on rain night. We're going to start the season off the right way. We did not do that. They did not get the memo that I was saying that. And they did not get the memo that this was the first game of the regular season because they played like this would have been preseason. Like they played like this game didn't matter at all. And I'm sorry, but the first game of the season, you set your tempo, you set your pace with that. And that was not a way to start. The Lakers did not look good in the slightest in that game. What I will say is this, there were a couple of bright spots, but within those bright spots, Anthony Davis is always a player with a slow engine. It's slow to start. You'll see him struggle in his first few games back. In Anthony Davis's defense, he really only struggled in his first game. He played great in the first half and then he just disappeared second half. Literally did not score a single point in the second half. LeBron James, 20 plus points, decent game, but honestly a lot of his stats were just garbage stats and they did not change the outcome of the game. They were not effective stats. He didn't put effective stats that game. Austin Reeves played pretty bad. D'Angelo Russell played pretty bad. A lot of their players that they brought back, their staple players that people were like, we need these guys. Either we need them or they need to prove themselves. They didn't play great. Let's get into the bright spots of that game, though. Christian Wood played phenomenally. Christian Wood's going to score. If there's something about Christian Wood that has been the case since he entered the league, he is going to score no matter what. If it's a three, if it's a mid range, if it's inside, it does not matter. But we saw a defensive effort, something that I've said since we got him that some people were like, really, bro? I never got to make this claim on the pod because I wasn't going with the pod, but I've made this claim face to face with people. Christian Wood is going to put up a better effort on defense, probably the best we've ever seen him put up. So far, that is very true. We're going to get into his last performance because that's really where it's evident. But we saw him in his first game as a Laker really putting up an effort on defense that we did not see before. That goes a long way. And so Christian Wood had a really good debut. Another player that had a great debut, arguably had maybe the best game, was Taurean Prince. He was putting up shots that almost put us back in that game. As garbage as that game was, he almost put us back in it. Final score of that first game was 119-107. We caught the L on a Tuesday night. Moving on to Thursday, playing the Phoenix Suns. Now, this was a highly anticipated game because Kevin Durant and LeBron are playing for the first time since 2018. They played in the preseason this year. I don't count that. The first time in a regular season matchup since 2018. It did not disappoint. They battled back and forth. But before we go into that, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal both out. So right off the bat, the Lakers had the advantage. The Lakers did not play fantastic basketball until the second half and really until the last quarter. I mean, we played decent in the third, but what I will say is LeBron looked like how we need him to look the whole season, not only stats wise, but minutes wise and where we were using him. We saw him really come alive in the second half, specifically the end of the third and the fourth. That was him coming alive and being really effective. And it wasn't like in the first game where The minutes didn't look super different, but where we used him at in the game was different, and that made a big difference. So we utilized LeBron for what we should utilize him for most of the season. You don't limit his stats. He's not going to come off the bench and be limited completely, but definitely watch him, especially in certain games, certain lineups, certain weeks. Watch his minutes and just be as careful and as conservative with him as you can. And that's what we saw. Anthony Davis had a great game. We saw the team gel more this second game. We would not have came together and won this game had we not gelled. We played team basketball, ended up winning 100 to 95, 1-1, sweet. Going into Sunday, I was really hyped for this game. We were playing the Keens, or the Queens, I like to call them, much to one of my listeners of last season's dismay. He was not a fan of the Queens comment. So I will continue to call them that, by the way. The Sacramento Queens. This was a hype matchup, super hype. And as good as the Queens were last year, I was like, honestly, we have upgraded with size. And because of our win over the Suns, I was like, I see consistency that I think is going to build in this game. And I was right. We did build. We had a great game. We had a fantastic game. We went into OT. It was a battle. It was an absolute back and forth matchup. It was the anniversary of LeBron's first NBA game. It was cool. It was a really fun game to watch, but we could not get it done. Sacramento is a team that has been on the rise. Mike Brown is a genius, first and foremost. He's been a genius. But what I will say is this: his growth that he was able to push for on this team, and this team's in your face, on paper, stats, record, they're going in a direction very quickly that you don't see a lot of teams, especially that are in the Queens situation, go. So Mike Brown is the truth. He's really turned that organization around from a coach's standpoint, and the players that they have obtained naturally through trades, through drafts, they're building a team in the best way possible. So we saw a team that is a real team. We saw a team that came together last season, made a difference, and they're ready to keep that up. So the fact that we lost 132 to 127 against the Kings in overtime, it was disappointing for two reasons. One, the Los Angeles Lakers are not a team that should go to overtime. Let's be honest. I think we talked about this last season, and good Lord, had season one been the year of Westbrook and the year where we had Trevor Ariza and oh my, I don't even want to go into the rest of the people we had. Had we done it that season, oh my goodness, if the Lakers ever went in overtime, I would just turn games off. I'm sorry, I really would. I love my boys, even if we are terrible, but it was super hard to watch them go into overtime and blow it, especially with LeBron, to be completely honest with you. So overtime is tough. I don't like overtime. I'm not going to like overtime until we build up a little more consistency and until we come together as a team even more. But I will say that I had a little bit of confidence because of how we finished the fourth. Unfortunately, it didn't end up happening. We couldn't get it done, and we lost 132, 127. But we were really competitive and we looked great. And when we meet the Kings next, or excuse me, the Queens, come on now, I can't forget their name, their real name. When we meet the Queens next, we're going to get that dub. And that brings us to our most recent matchup. And that was against the Orlando Magic. And let me just go ahead and say this. First and foremost, the Orlando Magic are a team that is kind of underrated, honestly. To be honest with you, they're a team that, in my personal opinion, they are one of the most underrated teams in the East at the moment because we're not looking at them for who they have talent wise, both draft and who they've acquired and who they're kind of building up just within the organization. I don't think we're giving that team enough credit, especially when they have Suggs. Suggs was an absolute baller in March Madness, and he continues that trend in the NBA. They have a team that is fearless. They play fearless basketball, and they showed that with how they shot the basketball from three last night. The Orlando Magic really, really, really punished us from three. They were lethal from three. A big part of that was Suggs. A big part of that was the team that they've been building in Orlando. So, first and foremost, the Orlando Magic are no slouch. And we had a really, really, really hard fought, close game last night. And guess what? We didn't go to OT. I'm telling you right now. Like I said, when with our loss against the Kings, cannot go to OT. We are not a team that can go to OT and at least 100% pull it off. Had we gone to OT against the Magic, they would have punished us. They would have any downfall that would have plagued us and been a reason we would have gone to OT. They would have punched us right in the mouth for that shit. Excuse my language, but seriously, that shit. I'm going to say it again. They would have punched us right in. I want to say something else, but I'm not going to. They would have punched us right in the mouth for that shit. Guaranteed. I'd put everything on it. And I don't have that much right now. I'll be honest. I don't have that much. I'm picking up that shuttle money today, baby, but I don't have that much. But what I will tell you this much right now, I'd put everything I do have on it. So PS3, I'll put the PS3 on it. I'll put the Husker hat on it. I'm just looking around my room. I'll put the broken goggles on it. I'll put anything on it. Okay. I would put it, I would put a lot on the fact that that Orlando Magic team would have really, really, really gone at us had we gone to overtime. So I didn't have to put the goggles or the PS3 or the hat or anything on it because it didn't happen. The Lakers did what the Lakers honestly didn't even do last season, and that was show up at the end of the game. They're doing a better job of that. Even in their loss to the Kings, they showed up at the end of the game to go into OT against the Suns. They showed up at the end of the game, even just to win that. Nuggets was the one exception where they just didn't really show up. So they're 3 out of 4 games this season. They're a team that fights until the very end and will show up when it matters. Whether they're down, whether they're up, they will show up and show out. And I don't think I would have been able to say that this time last season. I know I wouldn't have been able to for most of last season. So ended up winning that game 106-103. Very good game. D'Angelo Russell played way better. LeBron had another game where literally I was listening to it on the radio as I was driving my back from shuttle, and they're talking about LeBron. This could be the first game where he doesn't get into double digits since 2008, and I'm like, bro, he has 5 points in the third, and if anything, this is fantastic. That's how I love that. I love that he only had 5. By the way, he finished with an incredible stat line. Yeah, he started with 5. He might have started with 5 points even in the second half, but he did not finish with 5 points. He didn't finish with 10 points. LeBron James had a really productive, really fantastic game last evening. And by the way, he's averaging 22 points a game, 8.5 rebounds a game, and 6.5 assists per game. Jeez, I can't even talk right now. That's how excited it's making me. But for real, he is putting up stats that are unreal for the year he is in. And is he shooting good from three? No. He had a good moment last night from three that was clutch, and a couple of clutch moments that were not from three. But he's not shooting great from three. He's one of the players on the Lakers that needs to watch his threes and maybe not shoot as many. We're going to look at Anthony Davis's stats because, like I said, he was really, really, really slow to start in that first game, but his engine is going now, and he looks more durable. He looks a lot more reliable to me. Something about the way he's playing. I don't want to blow smoke over this, but something about the way Anthony Davis is playing. It's only 4 games, but especially exclusively the last 3. He is really, really, really showing up and showing out on those 3 games and giving us consistent stats. So those last 3 games, I gotta say, AD's looking more and more like healthy New Orleans AD. I'm not going to jinx it, but I really think that. And so far, even with his first slow engine turned off game, he's averaging 25.7 points a game, 12 rebounds a game, 2.2 assists a game, and 2.7 blocks per game. Really, 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 really solid start for Anthony Davis. I'm really happy. Before we move on to our next topic, which is the Battle of LA part, whatever it is, I don't even know. I should have probably checked that before we started, but it doesn't matter. Before we get into that, shout out to Christian Wood, who had 3 blocks, a three-piece. He had a three-piece last night against the Magic. Are the Magic a team that has the most size? No, but they're a team that has hoopers, and they've got enough size that his 3 blocks and what he did to slow that team down is really effective. If Christian Wood keeps it up, is he going to have 3 blocks a game against every team? No. He definitely utilized the team we were playing. But if he keeps that up, he might go from being looked at as just a scorer to a more all-around player, and I'm here for it. So as we sit here, the Lakers are currently 2-2, which honestly, I'm very pleased with that. Like I said, even their loss against the Queens, they look like a team that is really waking up and starting to make those moves they need to make to go towards that right direction that I really think they can still make yet this season. Super exciting stuff. Now it's time to move on and talk about this upcoming week of basketball, specifically the Battle of LA. And there's a really big, huge change to talk about with the Clippers. Let's get right into it. So before we go into the actual week and the slate of games, and specifically the Battle of LA, which is always an amazing storyline, we are going to go into a trade that makes it an even more interesting storyline, not only for the Lakers, but also just for the Clippers themselves for the rest of the season. When I went to bed last night, right before I fell asleep, I got an alert from ESPN on my phone that said James Harden is going to the Clippers. James Harden is being traded to the Clippers. It was being posted on a lot of different platforms, but there were literally no details out. All it said was James Harden is going to the Clippers. And so at first, I honestly wasn't sure if it was actually completely going through, if it had actually gone through yet, or if it was just a rumor, what was going on. Went to bed, woke up to record, and it was fully through. So let's go right into this trade as a whole. The Clippers are receiving James Harden and PJ Tucker, as well as Filip Petrusev, and the 76ers are getting Marcus Morris, Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, a 2028 unprotected first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, and a pick swap in return. First and foremost, as much as a headache as James Harden has been for the Philadelphia organization, who the 76ers got back for who they gave up is pretty ridiculous. And I don't see Embiid sticking around there much longer. But this is not a show where we care about the 76ers. But I just wanted to make that point because I think it's very obvious that this may be a defining factor in what Embiid does next. Because that was, unless they can flip some of these pieces, that was ridiculous. Now on the Clippers side, James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Filip Petrusev are all 3 players that very well could make an impact at different parts of the floor in different parts of the game. Obviously, James Harden, MVP, league leader in scoring several seasons, one of the best guards in the last 10 years, without a doubt. Undoubtedly, there is no arguing that he is one of the best guards of the last 10, if not 20 seasons, without a doubt. Great player. But what I will say is this is his 4th team since playing for the Rockets. He's played for 4 teams. And he just left the Rockets not even 4 years ago. So 4 teams, under 4 seasons, that's not a great look. His last go-round with the 76ers, playing-wise, I think arguably he looked way better than he looked as a net. So playing-wise, he actually had a pretty decent season last year and had some pretty good moments. So the Clippers are not getting a washed James Harden. I don't want that to be the narrative because I don't think that's true. Again, adding Philip Petrusev and PJ Tucker, you're adding some more depth to your lineup, and you were also able to keep a lot of key pieces. So the Clippers absolutely won this trade. But now, let's look at Clippers versus Lakers, especially if James Harden is starting by then. We are going to take a look at our week. I can appreciate the way it looks because it's very short. I'm a guy that can appreciate a short week, no matter if that's me personally for work or if that's a Lakers week. That limits our chances to lose games, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to be honest. I like it. I like a short week. Another thing that I like is an early game. With where I'm living, none of my games are 9, 10, whenever that is. None of those starts are late for me. I can appreciate a 4 p.m. and a 1 p.m. start. So it's looking good this week, guys. What I will say is this. Obviously, like we just talked about, the Clippers acquiring James Harden and even PJ Tucker and Philip Petrusev, those are 3 very big pickups for this team. As we record right now, they play the Orlando Magic this evening. None of those Clippers players are going to be seeing the court tonight. Realistically, especially with James Harden, because yes, there was the Daryl Morey situation and a lot of drama in Philadelphia, but also health-wise, he had not seen the court yet. Because of those factors, we very well might not see James Harden hit the court for the Battle of LA. But I definitely can go ahead and assume that the goal is to have PJ Tucker, James Harden, and Philip Petrusev ready to go, especially PJ Tucker and James Harden for that matchup against the Los Angeles Lakers. If that is possible, health and just everything-wise, I do believe we will see that. If that does happen, let's talk about that starting lineup for the Clippers. It is going to consist of, potentially, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Zubac. That, on paper, is a great lineup. I'm not going to front. I'm not going to blow smoke. I'm not going to deny it. On paper, even at this point in those players' careers, that is a great lineup. Couple of things that go against that lineup. One, this is the 3rd time we will have seen Russell Westbrook and James Harden play together. The first time they played together, they were in very different units for most of the time. Most of their success came in different units. Or the way they played basketball just complemented each other very well when they were on the court. When they reconnected in Houston, that was not the same. They were the most successful when they were not on the court together. They were the most successful when they were running different units. Even if they were both running units with starting players, they were the most successful when they were not on the court together. Did they have their moments when they got it done on the court together? Yes. But we saw in the playoffs, yes, it was the bubble. Say what you want about that. We saw them fall apart and not be able to be consistent on the court together. So looking at James Harden and Russell Westbrook, if they are truly starting together, which I don't think they will be, especially for the entirety of the season, if they even keep Russell Westbrook the whole season, I don't think we're going to see them start, especially come playoff time. But I do think we will see some lineups, especially starting out. I think we will see them try that out. And who knows, maybe it will work better on this team. But another thing that goes against this is I think that the Lakers honestly have a really good depth chart at the big man position this season, and I think we could still even further boost that up. And I think that going up against a team like the Clippers, they really do not have that depth. Now, Zubac is an amazing big man, and I'm upset that they poached him from us. Honestly, it's one of the biggest losses that we have had as Lakers, players-wise, is totally Zubac within the last few years. And the Clippers have kept him on their team for a reason. He is a reliable player that you can rely on to make big plays and be big when it matters. So, yes, they have Zubac, but besides Zubac, their depth at the big man position is lacking. And that is another thing, because again, history does repeat itself, that we saw in Houston with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They were a team that lacked size, and it showed. So I think that those are some factors to think about here. Looking at the game itself, the Los Angeles Lakers have to show up because no matter who is starting at the guard position, you are going to see Russell Westbrook, you're going to see Kawhi Leonard, you're going to see Paul George, and you're going to see Zubac. Barring anything happens against the Magic, any injuries, any load management, they're trying to crack down on that, but barring any of that, you are more than likely going to see the guys I just mentioned. And they are guys that will punish you if you do not show up. Now, the one exception there, Russell Westbrook is playing like Russell Westbrook did even for us last season at the beginning. He's really inconsistent. He's wildly inconsistent. And so right off the bat, if Russell Westbrook is starting, we have the advantage at the guard position because even though D'Angelo Russell needs to up his game on defense and we need to just find our identity at that position a little more, we just have that advantage over Russell Westbrook. And I think that we're going to see D'Angelo Russell exceed expectations, and that'll be a huge game for him offensively. Another thing that we have, like I just mentioned, is size, and I think that is going to be used absolutely 100% to our advantage. Biggest thing we need to do is defend the three. We did not do a good job of defending the three against the Magic, and that's honestly the reason they almost beat us, is because we did an awful job of defending the three until the final drive, which I can appreciate us coming up and stopping the last three, but until then, we did not do a fantastic job stopping the three ball. We need to stop the three ball because honestly, the Clippers are a team that will punish us. If the Magic will punish us, the Clippers will punish us as well from three if we do not defend it. So we need to defend the three better, and we need to show up. But I do predict the Lakers coming out on top, even if James Harden starts, even if whatever the lineup looks like. I've got the Lakers winning it. I'm not gonna be too big of a homer and give them a huge win. I'm going to say it's going to be a pretty close, hard-fought game, but I've got the Los Angeles Lakers coming out on top, winning in a decently high-scoring matchup, 116-109, and moving on to 3-2 on the season. And then we have a real nice break, and our next game is Saturday, November 4th, a rematch against the Magic. Now, one more thing I forgot to mention about the Clippers that I think could really affect them against the Lakers is their game against the Magic as we record today, because the Magic are angry. The Magic really do not want to lose back-to-back games, and I don't think they're a team that is going to lose many back-to-back games skill-wise. So I think that one reason the Clippers might also lose against us is A, they're either going to get beat by the Magic, or B, they're going to barely beat the Magic and be tired for a back-to-back game against the Lakers. That is my thought there. That goes into the Magic because I think the Magic are going to build some steam off of a win against the Clippers, and I think the Magic are going to come back ready for revenge against the Lakers. Lakers, obviously, with my prediction, beating the Clippers are going to have a little bit of steam, but we need to defend the three so much better and slow their tempo. Something the Lakers still need to find on defense is a way to slow teams' tempos. We did a terrible job of it against the Nuggets, and that's one reason we got beat. We did a really, really, really bad job against the Kings. That's one reason we got beat. So we need to not let history repeat itself. We need to get better at slowing the tempo on defense. We need these players that came out last game, like LeBron, who had 3 steals and 1 block, Christian Wood, who had 3 blocks. We need them to come back and play like that again, but we need to see this Lakers team get back better on defense, get back quicker, and be ready to slow the tempo and be ready to defend the three. But I absolutely have us being able to come back and beat the Magic, going 2-0 on that series this year. I think we're going to honestly have a lot of momentum from that Clippers game, and with those days in between, I think we're going to have a lot of rest and a lot of time to put up shots and do what we need to do to be ready. So I've got us beating the Magic by a little more than we did this last matchup was only a 106-103. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to be a homer, but I've got my boys winning 120-104 against the Magic, and that would move us up to 4-2, which would absolutely be where we need to be. And that brings us to our final segment of season 2, episode 1 of Purple and Gold Zone. And actually, going into that, our final segment of every single show for season 2, we are always going to end with something fun, whether that be a guest appearance, an interview, or a list, just like a top 5, top 10, just some sort of fun segment to end every single show. Today's fun segment, we are going to go over my list for the top 5 best Lakers duos of all time. Please tell me, whether that be in the TikTok comments, in the YouTube comments, tell me, do you agree with my list? Or what's your list? What's your top 5 best Lakers duo of all time? Let's get right into my list right here, right now. Let's go. Coming in at number 5, we have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Some of you may have been wondering if you'd even see either of these guys on this list. Honestly, if you would see them, you'd only see them together because, well, there are a couple of players on this list that you could put down with potentially another player. LeBron James and Anthony Davis have by far been the highlight of the Lakers and been the duo of the Lakers of the 2010s. And for me, here's what I will say. They would be potentially higher up on this list, if not just more secure on this list, if they had better health together. They have had great successes as Lakers. LeBron James has accomplished becoming the all-time scorer. They have won a title in their first season of all seasons. They have done a lot in their 5 years as Lakers, and they potentially are looking at hitting the 6 to 7 to 8 year mark comfortably, and who knows what they can truly do. I really think that the best is still yet to come for this Los Angeles Lakers team, especially Anthony Davis and LeBron, if they can stay healthy. So I wouldn't be shocked if we revisit this list if they could potentially be higher up. The reason that they are not is not because they are not that duo that has that talent, because honestly, talent-wise, they should be third. I'm just going to say it right now. Talent-wise, these two players should be third on this list. But because they cannot stay healthy, all they've been able to muster up is this 5th spot. But they are still on my list because they're champions. They won it their first season. They've gone to the Western Conference Finals multiple times together. They've gone to the playoffs 3 out of 5 seasons together. They are a duo that gets it done. And if they stay healthy, they might end up moving up higher on this list. So I got to go. Number 5, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Coming at number 4, we have Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West. Sometimes people forget Wilt Chamberlain was ever a Laker, and it's not because he wasn't iconic and didn't put up great stats as a Laker, but he broke the record for all-time points scored and had some absolutely phenomenal seasons before he was ever a Laker. He was absolutely not in his prime when he was a Laker. Same with Jerry West. Jerry West was exiting his prime when they teamed up. But when Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain matched up and became the front runners of the Lakers, they absolutely rose to the challenge, and they went to the finals in 4 out of the 5 seasons they played in together and were able to win a title in 1972. Wilt Chamberlain retired in 1973, which ended that spectacular run, but in their time, they went to the finals 4 out of 5 times, winning it once, getting Jerry West his first title finally, getting Wilt Chamberlain that title with the Lakers. It was huge. They were Showtime before Showtime existed. If you watch highlights, which there's not a lot of highlights, again, you can't find that many highlights even from just in the early 70s, but the highlights you can find, they were absolutely Showtime before Showtime existed, and they've got it done. And again, they are another duo that would absolutely be higher up on this list had they matched up sooner, because I do believe if the Lakers got Wilt Chamberlain when he was more in his prime, they would have definitely been able to at least win 2 or 3 titles with that West-Chamberlain duo. Coming in at my number 3 spot is that one player where I talked about where you could see him on this list multiple times with multiple different players, and that would be Kobe Bryant, who we see on this list 2 times, first with Pau Gasol. one of the best trades in Lakers history. It was definitely that 2008 midseason trade for Pau Gasol. The Lakers needed to make moves, and they made that move, and that is a key factor, if not the factor, that Kobe Bryant became a five-time champion. Acquiring Pau Gasol was a gigantic move for this Lakers team, and the addition made them, honestly, an instant title contender, and they ended up winning a championship not one but two times together, and it was absolutely due to Gasol and Kobe's matchup. They were a great matchup that complemented each other extremely well, and it makes fans wonder, had health remained better for both of them following that 2010 championship, could they have at least won one more? Because honestly, this was a matchup that reminded a lot of people not of a Kobe and Shaq matchup in the skill set and what they were doing exactly on the court, but the connection was great, if not even a little bit better. It was absolutely a lightning thunder combo, exactly like Kobe and Shaq were. And they were even more finesse and almost poetry in motion on the court, which, yes, Shaq and Kobe had connection, but Gasol and Kobe had something special, and had their health remained, or maybe they'd matched up slightly sooner, who knows? Maybe we would be looking at a six-time. Coming at number 2, we have Kobe Bryant and Shaq. Despite their feud and their childish off-the-court situation, they were extremely dominant and close and had an extremely effective connection on the court. And Shaq had an all-time top 5 center performance who was in his prime. Absolutely, this was the prime of his career. He had the prime as great as he was in Orlando, and even as great as he was for the Heat, and even beyond the Heat, he had some moments. He was in his prime when he was a Laker, and Kobe was at his most athletic, and this is when he was establishing himself as one of the game's most talented young stars. And they had a lot to prove, and they absolutely would, leading the Lakers to 3 consecutive championships from 2000 to 2002, while also leading them to 4 straight finals appearances and almost a four-peat. This was a duo that was absolutely meant to be. It was written by the basketball gods. There is no way to say it other than that, because this duo was on the same page so much on the court, despite everything off the court. They were brothers on the court, and they got it done 3 times, almost 4, and they are by far, when you think of Lakers greatness, you think of Shaq and Kobe. They are in a league of their own. In at our number 1 spot, it should be no surprise, it is Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And because, honestly, here's what I'm going to say. This might be a hot take. And let me know in the comments, is this crazy or do y'all agree with me? Not only are Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the greatest Los Angeles Lakers duo of all time, I think they might be the greatest duo in NBA history. And yes, you could argue Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, but when we talk about 2 players, greatness matched up, Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar are in a league of their own, because the combination of power and grace in Kareem's postgame and the pure magic, because his name was Magic, his nickname is Magic, because he is magic on the court. His ability to run an offense, that gave birth to the Showtime era in the Lakers. Like I said, we saw flashes of that even before then, but the actual Showtime era was dawned by Magic Johnson, and it was because of him and because of Kareem that this Lakers team went on to win 5 championships together, while also dominating statistically and picking up every accolade in the book along the way. They are by far the best Lakers duo, and I don't think that will ever change. And that brings us to the end of episode 1 of season 2. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Like I said, stay tuned. We're going to have some interviews and special guests within the next few episodes, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for joining us. Also, make sure to check out the Yankee and the Brit channel. Well Beyond the Arc season 3 is returning in a couple of weeks, so make sure to return. If you are a returning viewer, great. If you are new, Well Beyond the Arc is an NBA show. Make sure to make your return to Well Beyond the Arc in a couple of weeks. More news on that will come out next Purple and Gold episode. And then also, Connor and Heffernan Show is an ever-growing show on the Connor and Heffernan Show YouTube channel. Same house as Purple and Gold Zone. Make sure to check out. I believe it is episode 5 or episode 6. Don't know which. Don't. I think it's 5. Episode 5 drops this Friday or Saturday. Stay tuned. Thank you guys so much. As always, we will be back next week for more Lakers basketball.